Hey guys, good morning. I want to do a video that will show you how to do a cold and dark startup with the DC Designs F14. So here we are today. We're just outside of New York in the hard deck simulations, or on the hard deck simulations aircraft carrier. Also another amazing bit of software. And I'll probably make another video using the carrier to show you what that's like. But for now, we're going to do the cold and dark startup. This is based on a checklist that was made by a friend of mine, Monty Bonner, and I also helped him with it. And we wanted to present it to the community because there wasn't very much that was released with this plane, so we're just trying to make it as fun as possible for anybody that chooses to use it. There's lots of easy, fast ways just to start the plane. You can just hit the air start button. It'll basically do everything. But if you want to make it seem more realistic and become more immersed, then feel free to use this checklist. We've made it based on real life checklist experiences, not in the F-14. I've never flown one, but I've flown lots of other planes. So hopefully this is helpful. There's going to be a link in the description where you can download an image of this checklist if you want to follow along, and you can print it for yourself, use it as you wish. I will say we're not affiliated with DC Designs. We're just doing this for fun. It's an unofficial thing, and hopefully when DC Designs releases a proper one, then you can use that if you like. This is just more so for everybody right now. And we'll go up to the plane just to show you that the covers are all on. You see we're chained down. The pitot covers are on. The engine covers are on. I've got it fully loaded with missiles and everything, so we're ready to go. And let's go inside. Okay. So, it says in the checklist, all weight and balance calculations must be completed prior to start. Well, that'd be a given. You get all your paperwork done before you hop in here. Park brake set. It is set. External covers walk around. Well, prior to the walk around, we would get rid of the chains and the covers. So if you look down here, trying to get the most to go. Chains and covers. So I just flicked those two switches. Now when we go outside, you'll see the chains are gone and the covers are gone. So the engines are clear. I didn't mean to hit that. The pitot covers are all off. Everything is good to go. So we'll assume the walk around is complete. Because it's flight sim, I can't actually do a walk around and find anything. Battery master to on. Battery master down here. That's the power button. On. Lights as required. So if it was nighttime, this switch here is your light switch. So you can turn it on. You'll see if it was dark, all this would light right up and you could use that. Daytime, I don't need it, so turn it back off. Flaps retracted. Okay. Make sure they're in the retracted position and they are fully retracted. Wings, manual oversweep. To do that, that's down here as well. You lift up this tab, and this yellow chevron switch can be moved. So this is unswept, and this is overswept, and that's where you want manual oversweep. That means that the sweep of the wings is as narrow as possible. I believe in real life it even goes over the elevators just like it did here. So, anyways, that's cool. Fuel valves, pull, closed, / off. Okay, so the fuel valves are up here. That's these two things. If I push it, you'll see that pushes it in. Well, we want them pulled and made sure that they're off. So I'm just going to double check this one. That's on. This is off. So as long as you pull them out towards you, that's closing the valve, not letting any fuel through. And that would be good for, if you had a fire or something, you'd immediately want to get rid of the fuel. Okay. And it's also good for shutting the engines down. Fuel quantity, check. Down here it shows our fuel quantity, and we have 4,000 bingo fuel. Our total fuel is actually like around 3,900, which is just under bingo, but I don't have it set up for anything. I put a lot of weight on it with the missiles and everything. So if I was going to do any cross country, I'd add more fuel, of course. But right now I have it just so we're very close to our max landing weight. That's our fuel. These are external tanks. We have 300 aside. And like I said, 3,008 something, between 3,800 and 3,900 as our total fuel on board. Slightly under our bingo fuel, but that's okay. All right. Oxygen levels, that's right here. We'll assume that's good because I don't think the gauge actually works, but just for simulation purposes, we could check that. GPU connected and on. So down here, you see a switch for the GPU, and I'll click it. GPU should be connected and on. It is. It's connected, and we'll assume that it's on. Inlet ramps stow. They're over here. Just the top part here, so we'll stow them. Auto throttle off. So as long as this switch isn't up in auto, we'll consider it off. And I'm just going to move my throttle back, because once I put it in auto, it did actually start to move that. I wouldn't want to start up and be in full afterburner mode. AFCS off. Okay, so that's down here. This is your AFCS panel, and these three switches, they gotta all be off. So pitch, roll, and yaw off. HUD off. That's over here. And it's this one here. So HUD is now off. Cockpit prep checks are complete. Now we'll do the before start checks. Beacon or anti-collision light to on. Oh, there we go. It was on already by mistake, but now it's on again. What that does, just to show you, it might be hard to see in the daytime, but you'll see a light here. That red light that's flicking, that's your beacon in this plane. And on the top front of this one, there's the other one there. Okay, so there's two beacons that you'll see flashing. Next item, generators on or off. My bad, off. So these I would normally make sure they're off, but even when I click them, they just go back. I think it's animated to go back into the normal position anyways, no matter what. So I don't know if you can turn them off, but maybe DC Designs could elaborate or in the future make it so that they turn off and on, like you have control of it. So for simulation purposes, they're now off. We'll consider that. Avionics master off. That is this switch right here. It says HSD, EMCD. I don't know what those mean, but that's on, that's off. You want that off for engine start, because if when you're starting your engine, you have an electrical spike or a surge of electricity going through all the avionics, you could damage something. And avionics are very expensive, so you don't want to do that. Okay, now we're at the part where we actually start the engine. So what we would do, we look at the marshaller, he'd be somewhere out here, and we want to start the right side, so that's our number 2 side. We'd give him the 2 signal, he'd go to start, and we'd start our number 2. The signal given, we'll consider that, and right starter engage. That's down here. Engine crank right, turning 2. All you do is click it with the mouse once. Once you do, you'll see that things start to move. Our RPM is increasing. We will see a turbine inlet temperature start to rise soon. Fuel flow will start as well. We want to see this RPM reach about 13% or greater, then we'll introduce fuel. So we're there now, introducing fuel. So I clicked the fuel valve up here, pushed it in, and that was the next item on the checklist. It said right fuel valve, push, open / on. So we pushed it, now the valve is open, fuel's going in. By the sounds of it, we do have a decent light off. We're watching our turbine inlet temperature rise, and fuel flow's coming up too. You would look for this to spike right up into the red and fuel flow to go up like crazy, and that would be an indication of possibly a fire or something else wrong. Or another thing that could happen in real life with the turbine is that this would stop moving and it would just stay and hover around here for a long time and not move at all. That would be considered like a hung start. But I don't think any of that's simulated in this plane or even in Microsoft Flight Sim. So that was a good start, we'll call it. Right generator 2 on. That was the next item. Right gen on. We'll say that by clicking the switch it reset it to on. GPU disconnect. So we give the Marsler a signal, disconnect the GPU, and in doing so we're going to do our switch down here. GPU is disconnected. Let's look outside. Yep, no more GPU, and that's good. The last item I want to do, since the GPU is now gone, we'll remove the chocks, and that's on this checklist as well. And the reason why we're going to remove them now is because we're going to start that other engine, and we don't want anybody to have to get too close to it to get to the chocks. Chocks are removed, and you had to have them on up until then, because if the plane lurched ahead when it was starting, you don't want it to bump into the GPU and cause any major damage. So that's the logic behind having the chocks be removed there. They could be on the nose wheel. They could be on the same side as the GPU on that main wheel. I'm not sure where they would put them in the real world with this plane. Okay, it says repeat above steps for the left engine. All right, so we look at the Marsler 1. He would give us the 1 signal. We'd turn it. Engine crank left. There's our 1. So I just clicked it once. Once again, we're going to watch our RPM rise up to about 13%, introduce fuel, and wait for a good light off and start. Oh, sorry, I was thinking of something else about further in the checklist. We're well past the 13%, introducing fuel. I was thinking about how we're going to take off on the carrier here. And it's not real life, so it's easy to not really have to pay attention to this stuff because I'm not worried about getting a hot start or a hung start or any weird anomalies. It's just going to go like normal, I believe. But if somebody from DC Designs is watching this, that would be awesome in the future to add like failures to start, so when you start it up you have stuff that you got to look for like you would in real life. That would be fun. That's cool. It's using the fuel right from our external tank, so you can see our number going down as we start. That's great. That's cool. I didn't realize it was that realistic. Good job on DC Designs once again, because they've done a remarkable job on this plane. Okay, we had a good light off, engine start, and now the left generator to on. We'll just assume this resets it to the on. Okay, looks good. Before start checks are now complete. Do after starts. Avionics master to on. HUD on. These two switches. Inlet ramps to on. They were over here. Or, why did I say on? My apologies. Inlet ramps to auto. Okay. I'm losing my spot here. AFCS to on. Nav aids set. Okay, so this is where you would set up your map or your VOR, whatever you're going to use, your VOR frequencies or ILS. And as you get further in your flight, you'd put it all in here. NDB actually is something I discussed in another video. You can put that in this box, and you know this dial does the bigger numbers, and then this one will do the smallest number. Plus, if you hit the center, it'll do the middle number. Right, so you can put whatever frequencies you want in here, but that's how you do it. And then you use this instrument as your ADF. Also, you can use this as your ADF if you take this button where it says man, and you zoom, and you there's a down arrow on it. You use the down arrow to get it to say ADF in here. But I'm not doing that this flight. I just wanted to show you real quick since we were talking about it. I hit the up arrow twice back to the regular VOR mode. I'm not going to use that. And in my previous tutorials, I've introduced the GTN 750 by a group called PMS 50, and it's a free GPS integration that you can put in any airplane. It comes up as a widget here, and it was recommended to me by Karen Auto Support for an issue I had with one of their planes, and I've been using it ever since. I love it. And you can load in your flight plan here, do your routing, do your approaches, get them all put in. I'm not going to show how to do that in this video, but just that's how you'd set up your nav aids. So either use the conventional or GPS and have it all on your map and ready to go. Okay, the last thing, a takeoff briefing. So we make our plan. We'd talk to the crew if you had somebody else with you. Flight sim, you're not really gonna, but even in your mind, you think of, okay, what am I going to do in an engine failure? Go over all the standard briefs that your company would have taught you, but you can make it up. You can say whatever you like, but just be ready for failures. What happens if I have an engine failure on takeoff? Where am I going to go, and what's my plan? All right. After start checks are complete, taxi checks. We'll do brakes. So what I'm going to do is hold the brakes, release the parking brake, give the marshal the thumbs up. He'll give me the thumbs up as well and start waving me off. And I'm going to start moving forward. I'm going to gently test the brakes once I know they work. I'm going to go down here. The next item is taxi light. Control 3 on my keyboard gets me to this spot where I can see it. Taxi light's here. Turned it on. Lets them know that we're going to move. Warning lights. They're up here. Our bingo fuel warning light, we already know that we don't have lots of fuel. We're not going to go far. It's just letting us know that. So we'll consider that. You probably in real life would never take off with a red light like that. So we're aware of that. So we're just going to let that go for this flight, for this purpose of this tutorial. We would want to put more fuel in by seeing that light. Also, the other one is our stall. Once we get moving, that goes away. So that's another one we can ignore. I'm not sure in real life if it would actually do that when you're not moving. I think their systems would be smart enough to account for that. But anyways, those are two lights that we can right now ignore. Fuel and this stall, that will go out. Caution and advisory lights considered. Well, I'm just going to stop because this deck is small. And I want to look at the caution and advisory lights. Bingo is for our fuel. And this is just letting us know our fuel is low. So we considered that. We're okay with it because we're crazy. No, because we made our plan. All right, so taxi checks are complete. I'm going to bring us to a catapult here. And I guess we'll go to this one. We could start a lineup checks. Cockpit, to make sure it's secured, you would make sure you didn't have any pens or loose items kicking around, and make sure that your seatbelt is on and that the canopy is locked and everything is actually secured. You know, you want to take off and have an uneventful takeoff. Worst thing to happen, you know, you take off and something opens up and scares the crap out of you because you didn't set it when you could have done it here in the checks. But like I said, this is flight sim. We're not going to have anything, any loose items or anything go flying, and no windows are going to open, so we'll consider it secured. Let's take a look outside. Gotta go ahead a little bit further. Wrong direction. There we go. All that good. I just set my park brake again just because I'm done taxiing. All right. Display mode takeoff. That's here. I'm going to turn it on to takeoff mode. You don't have to do this. It's not default turned on when you load in on the runway, but I just I like using it, so I turned it on. Ice protection auto. That's down here. Engine probe anti-ice auto. Windshield air. Those are the only options, air and off, so we'll just leave it on air. All right, very cool. Wing sweep auto 20 degrees. So we're going to bring the wings up now. I'm going to grab this, push this up to auto, close this flap lever, not flap lever, this I guess some sort of a cover, well, the cover. And we'll watch. Our arrow was back here, that went up to here, 20 degrees. We can look outside and visually confirm. Yep, our wings are out. Flaps, any or as required. Well, because we're on a carrier, we want as much lift as possible. We're not on a runway, so I'm not going to go with the any option. I'm going to go with flaps full. So you can check the flaps down here. I did put them in the down position, and you can see it here. And if you look outside, the flaps are down. Okay. Another item, it says nose wheel extend kneel. Set for operation. Well, in every other operation, you want to extend it as far as I know. And kneel is only for the carrier takeoff when you get catapult launched. So if it's in kneel, it'll lower the nose. And as you can see, our nose is dropped. And that sets the torque that happens on this whole system to be a lot less with what's required for the acceleration involved. So it makes sense. Put it in kneel mode for a catapult launch, and otherwise leave it in extend. Anti-skid setting to both. It's already on both, but I'll flick the switch just so you see it. And that's lineup checks to the line. Now, if you were at an airport, you consider that line that's on the checklist, that dotted one, that could be your hold short. So you get everything done up to what we've done so far to the hold short line. You contact tower, tower would say clear area for takeoff or to line up on the runway. Once you go past the hold short, you do the rest of it. So in this case, oops, I'm hitting the wrong buttons here, guys. Sorry. I'm gonna go down and go lights. Gonna make sure all the lights are on that we want. I'm just gonna turn them all on because it's daytime, and why not? Transponder to alt. Your transponder is here. We'll make sure we have the right code. And I'm a big Van Halen fan, so we're gonna always change it to 5150 if I take the time to do it. And as of now, I don't think there's a way to actually physically turn the transponder on. A lot of them have a button. I think I've read in the forums that that's being addressed by the company, so I hope that DC Designs actually does have some way to turn it on to alt instead of it always being on anyways. So anyways, we'll assume by putting our code in that it's in alt mode, which is mode C, and gives ATC your altitude readouts as well as all the other information they need. Heading check. Okay, so I don't know the heading of this carrier or the track that this catapult launches on. However, if I did, and maybe if you were a real world, Navy pilot, you would know this, but I would compare what the carrier is telling me that I should see as a heading with what I do see. Make sure they're correct. If you're on a runway, say you're on runway 29, and I look down here and I see I'm very close to 290, then I know that my heading checks. So that's all that means by heading check. Checklists are complete. We are ready to roll. So I hope that was helpful. We're going to try to do a launch now. And see how this goes. Wish me luck. Oh, you know what I better check? Before I do, you have to make sure crashes are disabled for the catapult launch. That's one of the downfalls with the hard deck carriers. As of now, where am I going here? Failure and damage, yeah. Crash damage is enabled. Yeah, if I had launched, we would have crashed. So I disabled it for launch. I usually don't do that because I like landing with it enabled, because if I crash, then I crash, right? But anyways. Okay, now we can try a launch. I hope that hard deck sims or hard deck simulation that made this carrier, I hope they get that fixed in the future too, because I'd love to be able to leave crashes on. Alright, so let's pretend we got our signal. We're good to go. Full power. Brakes released, off we go. Positive rate, gear up. Well, you want the gear up anyways, even if you didn't have positive rate, because you don't want the gear to hit the water and you crash, so. Very good. I hope that was helpful. And please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll put up more content in the future. Feel free to download that checklist, and it might help if you want to use that for flight sim immersion. I don't know. Like I say, there's lots of real fast, easy ways to start this plane that don't involve a checklist. But in that case, you just start on the runway, right? So what's the difference? Okay, have a good day. Thank you.